North America. The vast, sun-baked grasslands of the continent stretch out beneath an indifferent sky. A world seemingly dominated by cycles of drought and renewal, of wind-swept emptiness and endless horizon. This landscape, to the casual observer, is a testament to the slow, grinding forces of climate and geology. We see the buffalo graze, the coyotes hunt, the prairie dog colonies burrow beneath the surface, and we assume the rhythm of this world is dictated only by the changing seasons. The map appears fixed, its boundaries drawn by rainfall and temperature. A stable matrix of grass and soil, enduring and predictable. But this perception of stability is a profound deception. The quiet violence that truly sculpts this biome does not come from the rumble of distant thunder or the slow march of continental drift. It comes instead from an unexpected architect, a creature of water and wing, seemingly out of place in this dry, tinderbox environment. The black-crowned night heron, or its cousin, the great blue heron. They are often seen as elegant, solitary fishes, silhouettes against a sunset, their presence defined by the edges of a slow-moving river or a placid marsh. A simple bird, a predator of the shallows, focused only on the flicker of a silver minnow, nothing more. This is where the illusion shatters. What if this unassuming wading bird is not merely a resident of the wetland, but an active participant in the most powerful, destructive, and creative force the grassland knows? What if this creature is, in fact, an pyroengineer, a master of controlled, chaotic fire? We are about to suggest that this heron, by an act of pure, opportunistic feeding, is one of the most significant landscape sculptors the North American prairie has ever known. It is not just the sun and the wind that shape this immense tapestry of grass. It is the strategic, almost calculated movement of a bird carrying a burning ember in its beak. The great affirmation is this: the heron does not merely live on the prairie, it controls the prairie's most vital resource, fire. And in doing so, it has rewritten the rules of life, death, and renewal across millions of acres. The true map of this continent is not drawn by cartographers, but by the charcoal streak left behind by a bird's passing. The first spark, almost invisible, is already kindled. The heron's power is revealed when, with a quick predatory strike on the edge of a small brush fire, it snatches a burning stick. Not to extinguish it, but to carry it, to fly with it, to drop it into untouched virgin grass, creating a new fertile front for its next hunting ground. The grassland is about to be reborn, and the heron is holding the match. The immediate consequence of this aerial arson is dramatic and instantaneous. The burning ember, deliberately dropped into an area of dense, dry, tinder-like grass, ignites with a breathtaking speed that defies the casual understanding of natural fire breaks. The initial contained fire suddenly has a new, remote ignition point, often miles ahead of the original burn front. The heron, a master strategist in its own right, targets specific areas, those dense thickets that make hunting small prey a logistical nightmare. The fire acts as a terrifying, unpredictable harvester. As the flame front spreads, a furious orange tide consuming everything in its path, the initial victims are the immobile, the slow, and the subterranean. Insects, field mice, voles, and snakes are flushed out of their cover, disoriented and panicking. They flee the suffocating smoke and the lethal heat, stumbling into the still safe but momentarily clear, newly burned ground. This is the heron's brilliant design, a scorched earth policy that clears the underbrush and forces the prey into the open. The fire is not a barrier, it is a dinner bell. The ecological reaction is a cascade of primal opportunism. Birds of prey, like the American kestrel and the various species of kite, descend upon the new fire line. They realize the advantage immediately, feasting on the fleeing insects and small mammals with an almost manic efficiency. But the heron holds the key strategic advantage, the burnout zone, where the fire has passed and the grass is now a layer of cooling ash and rich charcoal, becomes the true hunting ground. The heron, with its long, piercing beak, stalks through the smoking remnants. The prey is now exposed against the black canvas, visible, vulnerable, and moving slowly. Simulated expert analysis confirms this profound ecological feedback loop. As ecologist Dr. Elena Ramirez points out, the concept of the fire-foraging bird is not new, but the extent of its engineering impact is often underestimated. We see the heron as a catalyst. Its actions shift the ecological succession timeline. It's an active landscape perturbation that ensures the grassland remains a grassland. If the fire is suppressed, the dense brush and invasive woody species take hold, and the ecosystem changes from a fertile prairie to a less diverse, shrub-dominated terrain. The heron's arson is, paradoxically, a form of conservation. It's a biological check against overgrowth, performed with a burning twig. The cascade effect spirals outward. The localized intense heat of the fire, facilitated by the heron's action, cracks open the seeds of fire-adapted plants, the pyrophytes, which require this sudden blast of heat to germinate. The deep-rooted native grasses, their growing points protected beneath the soil, are merely stripped of their dead, unproductive thatch. They return with a vengeance, stronger and more nutrient-rich, nourished by the sudden influx of minerals from the ash. Conversely, the non-native, shallow-rooted invasive species, along with the encroaching saplings of woody plants, are wiped out. The heron's fire doesn't just clear the dinner table, it sets the stage for a feast of native biodiversity. The entire landscape begins to tilt in favor of the fire-adapted champions. The initial spark has now evolved into a massive, continental-scale selective pressure, all thanks to the flight path of a single bird seeking a simpler meal. We now vault forward, not 100 years, but perhaps 1,000, perhaps 2,000. The cumulative effect of generations of fire-starting herons, kite families, and other avian pyro-engineers is staggering. Where a dense woody savanna might have naturally evolved, a chaotic mix of brush and tree, we find instead the expansive open North American prairie. The map has been fundamentally redrawn by the frequent, scattered, and often bird-initiated fire regime. This new scenario is a living testament to the power of constant, focused disturbance. This transformed world is defined by vast, open, grazing lands. The soil is dark, rich, and deep, perpetually replenished by the cycle of burn and regrowth. The native grasses, genetically attuned to fire, form an impenetrable sod layer, holding the soil against the erosive power of the wind and rain. This is the climax grassland, an ecological system maintained in a state of high dynamic tension by the very force the heron champions. This landscape, visible from space, is a giant mosaic of different-aged burn patches, each supporting a different stage of plant and animal life. In this new reality, there are clear winners and devastating losers. The winners are the great grazers, the bison and the pronghorn. Their entire existence is underpinned by the heron's actions. They feed on the fresh, nutrient-dense post-fire growth and thrive in the open sightlines that allow them to spot predators. In a twisted irony, the heron's desire for a quick meal created the environment necessary for the greatest terrestrial megafauna event in the continent's history. The prairie dog colonies, the pocket gophers, and the ground-nesting birds, like the prairie chicken, also flourish, benefiting from the open foraging ground and the fertile, easy-to-burrow soil. The losers are the encroaching hardwood and evergreen species, the trees that cannot withstand the repeated scorching of their bark and the destruction of their seedlings. They are perpetually relegated to the edges of the river valleys, never allowed to claim the vast, rich heartland. The dense, thicket-dwelling fauna that prefers a closed canopy habitat suffers a slow, grinding loss of territory. The ecological irony is perhaps the most profound part of the heron's legacy. By destroying the superficial layer of old, dead plant matter, the heron's fires did not sterilize the land. They fertilized it. The richest, most sought-after agricultural lands in the history of North America, the famed breadbasket that fed the world, are situated precisely on these fire-maintained, biologically engineered prairies. Humans, in their ignorance of the deeper ecological history, did not choose random land for their civilization. They chose the soil that was meticulously cultivated for millennia by the flames carried in the beaks of a few unassuming birds. The foundation of modern civilization in this region is literally built on ash and the strategy of an opportunistic water bird. To fully grasp the magnitude of this, we must contrast it with a scenario where the heron's influence is removed. During periods of intense human intervention and fire suppression, the prairie stagnated. The dense, unproductive thatch built up, choking out the native grasses. Invasive species flourished. The ecosystem became unstable, setting the stage for infrequent but catastrophically intense megafires that truly did destroy everything, rather than the quick, controlled burns favored by the heron. The suppression of the small fires led directly to the creation of the big disasters. It shows that the heron's frequent, localized and chaotic intervention was the necessary constant for long-term ecological stability. A simple wader, a bird of the water's edge, seemingly preoccupied only with the endless cycle of hunger and satiation. A primal, almost accidental obsession with making the hunt easier. A burning twig snatched from the periphery, carried aloft, and dropped with an instinctual precision. A continent remade. From a local act of opportunism, the heron has dictated the geomorphology, the hydrology, and the biodiversity of one of the world's largest biomes. The story of the fire-starting heron forces us to confront a fundamental question about the natural world. What is the true measure of a species' power? Is it the size of its body, the complexity of its technology, or the scale of the change it can effect upon the very ground we stand on? If the bison is the sculptor's tool, the heron is the sculptor, using fire as its chisel. It forces us to redefine what we mean by intelligence and purpose in the context of ecology. The heron acts purely from a biological imperative for efficiency, yet its cumulative effect is indistinguishable from a deliberate, continental-scale engineering project. Look out now at the grassland, the vast sweeping emptiness that appears so ancient and unchanging. See the blackened, fertile patches where a fire passed days or weeks ago. Understand that this land was not merely allowed to exist by passive environmental forces, it was actively built and is actively maintained. The history of the Earth is not merely the collision of continental plates, the slow retreat of glaciers, or the eruption of ancient volcanoes. It is sculpted detail by detail by the biological actions of its inhabitants. The grand, sweeping narrative of the Earth is not solely a story of geophysics and climate. It is an intimate epic of biogeology. And the fire-starting heron shows us that the most consequential engineers are often the ones we fail to notice, those operating right in front of our eyes, carrying the seeds of the next great transformation. The heron is flying, and the world is always, always on fire.